Radhe Radhe and happy Ram Navami to everybody. Today is Sunday, April 10, 2022. So Mommy and I are here to present our recap video for the Bhagavad Gita study session.
Radhe Radhe.
As always, we started off with a quiz. So we had 5 questions that we covered, continuing in this journey for chapter 5. And then we covered 2 verses, Stuck in the Mud, chapter 5, verse 10, and Permanent Purity, chapter 5, verse 11. So starting with a quick recap for chapter 5, verse 10, question for everybody to think about: stuck in the mud, is that how we want to be? Or do we want to be stuck in the mud like the lotus flower or plant that always grows there but rises above the surface of the water? I was reminded that Stuck in the Mud is a game we all used to play as kids, at least in Singapore. And it would just be like a game of, being stuck somewhere, tag, unfreeze, etc. But now spiritually, one looks at it as this game that we all are part of, where we, by choice, are trying to consciously evolve as we become stronger and stronger spiritual devotees. So chapter 5, verse 10 is in the book here, the commentary, and the verse we see from Sri Krishna himself, presenting this beautiful, wonderful imagery, this visual depicting the strength of the lotus plant, the lotus flower, and its leaves, and how we can perhaps emulate that. So working as karma yogis, dedicating everything to God, and abandoning all attachment to the material world, and especially the fruits of our actions, that being the more important part, because we're not escaping, we're not becoming renunciants, we're just abandoning all those material reactions, the fruits that otherwise normal people might desire. That, like a lotus plant or a lotus leaf, how water rolls off its surface, is how we would like to be as spiritual devotees and karma yogis. So we talked at length about the origin of a lotus plant, how it grows, different names for it. Mummy helped us run through them. Maybe we'll hear them later as well, but we see Padma, Pankaj, Kamal, as well as from previous weeks, Nalini and Saroj. So at least 5 in our expanding dictionaries. And again, the idea always is that we can also see appellations as qualities and depictions of God and attributes. So we saw words like Charan Kamal, Kamalekshana, and Kar Kamal. All of this, again, the real takeaway being that the lotus leaf is untouched by what it is around it, or it is around water as well as mud. For us, the parallel is that we are around or surrounded by material objects, fruits perhaps of material activities, Maya, as well as, very importantly, sin. If we can remain untouched by all that, just like the lotus leaf, that is how we can evolve as karma yogis and stronger devotees. So that's chapter 5, verse 10. And then chapter 5, verse 11, as I said, we saw the one with the catchphrase permanent purity. The one thing that remains with us lifetime after lifetime in terms of an asset is our purity. So we seek to become better karma yogis with a singular purpose of self-purification. So right here, Sri Krishna says, only for the purpose of self-purification, giving up attachment, as we saw previously, and utilizing our body, senses, mind, and intellect to perform activity for the pleasure of the Lord. Offering, we saw a very interesting thing, that we think we're giving something to God, but what does God need from us? He's perfect. He's the Almighty. He has everything. What we have is all due to Him. So if we're giving back, it's only at least with that intention, hopefully, and the recognition that we're giving back to God what He has already supplied us with. So we saw some interesting shlokas from various scriptures about how an important way is to make an offering. We saw the word samarpan. We saw the shloka or the pada bhoktaram yagna tapasam, which we'll see much later in chapter 5. So we'll hold ourselves to that at that time. And again, with the example of Sugriv from the Ramayana, God, Lord Ram in this case, on this Ram Navami occasion, giving the opportunities to all of us to partake in the Leelas or to appreciate the Leelas, so that by our choice, by our free will, we can perform activities in a devotional aspect for our own self-purification. That purification is what we can offer to God day after day. So that in itself is a summary briefly for chapter 5, verse 11. Mommy, I'll pass it to you.
Yes, you have explained everything, Gagan. Hardly anything left. But I'll talk about those small hair growing on top of the lotus leaf. So as we saw in that video and on the screen page of our this chapter, there is this lotus leaf. It is always round, and then water does not stay there. It floats down. How does it float down? Why doesn't the leaf soak it? Because it has those small hair-like thing on that. Now, what I am thinking that let's all mentally grow these hair-like signals or antennas in our mind. Anything wrong we are going to do, let that signal stand in our mind. Let that signal tell us no. So then we'll be saved from that wrongdoing, from that sin. So let's cultivate this habit whereby we don't commit sin and we don't get into the wrongdoings, and coolly we stay away from those things like a lotus leaf. We are surrounded by lots of obstacles, lots of problems, lots of circumstances which don't go according to our choice. But if we are able to catch them very quickly, if we are agile about it, if we grow these antennas, then we'll be able to save ourselves and will be able to purify our antakaran, that is our heart, our mind and intellect, and continue to grow towards better on the spiritual path and attaching the mind to God with doing everything for the pleasure of God, because God is the one who is the enjoyer of all these things that we will learn later in the coming verses. But Bhokta Ram Yagnya Tapasam, that means God is the supreme enjoyer of all the activities. It is God who has given us everything, and we are just offering from there only to God. So we have to learn to understand this, that God has given us so much. Without God's energy and without God's grace, we are nobody and nothing can be done from us. Now, I would like to discuss another word. Today, it is Samarpan. So it seems the way I have learned or grown up, maybe I was learning it in Hindi. Samarpan means surrender. And now we check it in Sanskrit dictionary. Samarpan means dedication of works to God. Basically, it means that whatever you have given us, God, we are offering that back to you. And whatever energy you have given us to us and whatever activities we are able to do due to that energy, due to that grace, we offer it in your lotus feet, oh God. So another thing I had in mind, I'm forgetting. I'll give it to Gagan first.
Sure. From Samarpan, I'll take us to an English word I would like everybody to keep in mind, as seems to be often the case, a word that in itself may not seem very positive, but utilized in the right sense. So let's keep the word acrimonious with us as a means of remembering that we would like to be potentially surrounded by critics, nindaks, who may have acrimony or bitter words or speech, but to help us increase our acceptance for pain and our tolerance so that we can continue to evolve in a spiritual way. In fact, I'm going to put Mummy on the spot, but each of you as listeners also, think about the word acrimonious here as you see it on the screen, and take the first 4 letters, A-C-R-I, remove them and replace them with the letters H-A-R. What do you get?
Harmonious.
There you go. Harmonious.
Yes.
So hopefully now that has its positive tone to it. Just kind of made it up a few minutes ago, acrimonious versus harmonious. We again seek that union with God, the harmony with God. So through pain and tolerance, we can actually develop harmony in everything that we're doing. So small takeaway there. Anything else, Mommy?
I think that's good. And I talked about that Aarti where we say, Tera tujhko arpan kya lage mera. Oh God, whatever you have given to us, we are offering it to you. Nothing belongs to me. We are nobody. So this is the thought we need to cultivate in our day-to-day lives, that we are not doing anything ourselves. It is God who is so kind and compassionate, who has given us everything. We must reciprocate in the same way and offer everything to God for his pleasure. With that, I think it helps to understand these two verses.
Yes, thank you, Mummy. And again, just at the time of this recording, we hope people can enjoy the Ram Navami celebrations. And also just a reminder about the upcoming in-person series for Bhagavad Gita recitation and a bit of study that will be in person at Radha Krishna Temple. Please help spread the word, as well as also the walk initiative for Swamiji and JKYog for the education and healthcare facilities in India. And finally, again, in context of the walk, 2 weeks from today, so Sunday, April 24, 2022, we will not be having class, but till then, next week, class as usual. So Sunday, April 17th, 2022, we look forward to seeing all of you there. Once again, happy Ram Navami. Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.